Wow, this is going to be fun tonight because everybody say, yeah. Wow, that happened again. All right, so this is going to be a fun night. So I get super excited when we talk about the intersection of technology and culture. I get super excited. So the two people that I'm going to introduce you to are the definition of technology and culture. And each of them have their own different stories, mechanics, and strategies to how they got to where they are. The first person I wanted to introduce you to is a good friend of mine, the CEO of Complex, Rich Antonello. Yeah. Come on, Rich. I'll introduce them both at the same time. And another good friend of mine is Al Harrington, CEO of Viola. I was gonna have it. I guess. Look, you know what we'll do. Anytime you hear something you like, just say "you're." Do you guys have mics?
I got a mic.
It's all good.
She bringing it.
All right. Does that work? Oh, good.
We're good. Wow, that happened. I'm proud of myself. You guys don't. This is deeper than that. So I'm glad to have you guys here. This gets me excited when you have two people who normally wouldn't sit together on a panel, because these are guys, they clicked immediately, and I'm sure you guys would have lunch or dinner together or be friends, but it's not normal.
Make money together.
Make money together, yes.
Sure.
Wow, that's going to happen all night. So to have you two on a panel together, it's interesting because not many people would think of that, and that's kind of what I'm into. So the first question I want to ask you guys is, how does technology impact culture?
You want to go first? So first of all, I hate to blow it up and kind of twist it right off the top. I think it's not that technology is going to influence or impact culture. It's the exact opposite. The reality is, if you want to differentiate yourself from a technology perspective in the future or today even, you're going to have to be cultural. You're going to have to think from a cultural perspective. That's the ultimate differentiator. Think about it this way. Here's my point is, a lot of products previously before Apple were, not very design forward. They were more utilitarian, very tech oriented in that respect. And Apple just blew the game up and changed it, right? So now a lot of people don't understand is if you actually, the differentiation doesn't really happen on the technology side. It's de minimis. There's not much differentiation. The real differentiation is going to come from the culture. So I think it's the flip. I think culture is going to define and differentiate tech more so than tech is going to impact culture.
I agree with that. I mean, I can't answer that any better than you did, brother. Yeah.
Wow. So that was a great answer, by the way. I didn't expect that. So, Al, this question is directly to you. I think it might be a great start to get into this conversation for those who don't know you, to kind of hear your story as coming from a 16-year NBA veteran. You're
08 Knicks, best year ever.
Yes.
We ain't win no games, though. I played great. That was it.
We ain't win no games. Wow.
I'll never forget that year.
So for everyone to hear your transition from being a 16-year NBA veteran and transitioning into a CEO of a cannabis company, because your industry, your first profession, and the cannabis world coincidentally didn't intersect or collide, but they did at the same time. So I want you to talk about your story of how cannabis helped you throughout your career, even when it wasn't supposed to, and what made you start Viola.
Well, it did intersect, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, all my teammates that I had, they were smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? They was smoking and they was going out and they was playing at a super high level. So, I always say it's people ignorance that think that cannabis is, even considered a drug. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's not even a drug. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a miracle plant, and obviously with my journey with cannabis, being from Orange, New Jersey, I was always taught that cannabis was a gateway drug. My grandmother instilled in me that if I smoked weed, I was going to end up smoking crack. And I don't think nobody sets out in their life to be a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? So, when I got to the NBA, that's the first time I seen, active players, all-stars, all using cannabis. But it still wasn't for me. But, fast forward to, 2010, my grandmother, by the grace of God, got on a plane to come see me play. That was a miracle in itself because she's very old school where she likes to either take the bus, train, or, she'll drive, But she came out, and when she got there, she was telling me about all the, things that she was dealing with, from high blood pressure, diabetes, glaucoma. And when she mentioned glaucoma, like 2 days before that, I was reading the newspaper in Colorado because their medical program had just started about all the benefits of cannabis, and glaucoma was one of the things that, they gave credit for cannabis to cure. So it took me 2 days to convince her to try it, and, she's super old school. And she was like, no, of course, the first, 10 times I asked her. But when she finally tried it, I went and checked on her an hour later, and she was downstairs reading her Bible. And I was just like, Grandma, how you feeling? And the first thing she said, she was like, I'm healed. She said, it's the first time I've been able to read my Bible in over 3 years.
Wow.
So that's what inspired me to get into
But I want you guys to I'm a visionary, so I want everybody to walk with me here. Right. I want you guys to think about the mindset you actually have to go and say, hey, Grandma, I smoke some weed. But eventually it cured her, in a sense, right? Like she got to read her Bible for the first time in years.
Right. I mean, she used cannabis every day. Now when she get up in the morning, first thing she do is she smoke her vape pen. I also infuse cereal for her. So, she eats cereal, with breakfast, and then at night she vapes before she go to bed. So she used every day now.
I'm going to your grandma's house, by the way.
Yeah, Grandma got all the good weed. I swear, she got flavors, everything.
And that's where you got the name for your brand as well, right?
Right. So the company's named after her. She inspired us, and our company name is Viola, after my grandma.
So we're sitting here with two successful gentlemen. I think it might be a good time because everybody has their stories and nobody's perfect. So I think it might be a good time to hear some of your failures. Starting with you, Rich, who's a good friend of mine, and we sat down last night, 5-hour dinner, and talked about failures. And one of the most amazing things is that because to meet someone, I think the most powerful thing is vulnerability and humility. And right away, one thing that stood out to me was your mistake on timing as far as getting into YouTube, the technology of YouTube. Can you dig into that a bit?
Yeah. It was the biggest mistake. There's the specificity of it, but I really want to get into the reality of what drove it. And it was my ridiculous ego. And ego, by the way, is the worst thing that any entrepreneur can bring into a situation. We had a massive network of sites. We had all the best music blogs, all the best sneaker blogs, all the best art and design blogs. And we got heavy into video at the end of 11 into 12. And I was like, fuck YouTube. Sorry. Screw YouTube. And it's Brooklyn. I'm sorry, man. And they're 45% tax. And I was like, I don't need them. We have like 50 million uniques, and it's my distribution platform, and we're going to own 100% of the revenue. And what I didn't understand is that you cannot be a youth culture brand and lead from a video perspective without that platform. And what we did is instead of continuing to fight the good fight and believe in that ridiculously dumb decision that I singularly made, we sucked it up 6 months later and said, all right, now let's go all in. And now we have 5 channels with over 5 million subscribers on YouTube.
Wow. So another mistake, I'm going to come to you in a second, Al. Another mistake that you and I discussed was the fact that you didn't start your business until you were 30. Yeah. Let's talk about that. That sounds like
I just tweeted about that the other day, and I
did?
know
I blocked you on Twitter.
It's I'm looking at Haggerty over here right now, and he knew me when ideas or confidence was not my problem, but what I didn't understand when I was a kid is how to activate an idea. It's not the background I came from. I didn't have the mentors that I probably would have loved to have had. And it's not shots at bosses. It's more like I didn't grow up in that culture of being an entrepreneur, finding money. And if I would have known that, to be able to have started something of my own rather than work the first 9 years of my life executing other people's ideas, like what does that 9 years do for you? I mean, that is when you have all the energy and the creativity, you know what I mean? Like I'm running downhill, right? I could have been running a lot faster, a lot longer, and that would have been nice. And it's not a regret in that I might have had a better batting average because I waited later and because I had experience, but working for somebody else versus choosing to work for yourself and your own idea is a big regret. That's one of my biggest.
So, Al, speaking about mistakes, you and I, so actually when you and I first connected, this wasn't more so a mistake, but I think let's talk about your situation in Detroit, when you had all your paperwork, you had everything together, and your establishment was raided, and the cops in the area. I'll let you tell the story, but it's funny because we're going into technology and culture. I think you had everything in order.
Right.
Is that correct? You did have everything in
Yeah,
order?
so, the story goes, I went, with our company or whatever, so I started off in Colorado, and then once obviously I learned the business, then I started looking at other opportunities across the country where it made sense for, the Viola brand. So my biggest thing, like, as I continue to scale my business, I'm very adamant on creating opportunities for people of color in the cannabis space, because I'm not sure if you guys know the history of cannabis, but all the arrests are all young black males for cannabis, for having cannabis. And, I like to identify areas where I can have an impact, where I can, change people's lives. So Detroit is one of those places, you know what I'm saying? Make money and fix a problem. And, our location is like, 2 blocks away from 6 blocks of just abandoned homes, you know what I'm saying? So we wanted to create jobs there. And what we did was, we had an opportunity where we could have went in and operated, let's just say, rogue, and could have made some money and stuff. But, obviously with me building a national brand, I didn't want to take any chances. So for a year and a half, I got all the paperwork that I needed. It cost me over $200,000 getting all this paperwork. We have it there. Day after Memorial Day, my aunt calls me, and we're like going over just some house cleaning stuff. And then she says, "Oh my God, it looked like it's SWAT outside." So I'm telling her, I'm like, calm down, the protocol. I was like, tell everybody, go to this part of the building, just go get all the paperwork, bring it outside, that should fix it. So I was like, stay on the phone with me while you do it. So I hear her walking out the warehouse, and then I just hear, put the guns down, put your phone down, get on the ground, all that. The phone hangs up. So now I don't hear anything until later on I see on the news that our facility was raided. So of course I get nervous, right? So I'm like, where did we mess up at? But long story short, we was exonerated. It was a huge debacle. But the reason why I like to talk about it is because what's tough about in this cannabis space is that a lot of times, especially people of color, they spend their last to get into this space. Like they tap into every resource, every friend getting $1,000, $500, $5,000, and they put everything they can into trying to get these licenses. And what sucks is that, these states have programs, but the police are not held accountable for their actions. They come in and they raid, and if they're wrong, it's like, oh, well. And at the end of the day, like when they raided us, they froze our company bank accounts. They froze my personal bank accounts. And if I didn't have the resources I had, I would have lost my building after putting over $2 million in upgrades because I wouldn't have been able to pay rent. we probably wouldn't have been exonerated if wasn't able to hire 7 lawyers. You know what I'm saying? So I like to speak on that because, now that I've been through that, I completely understand, how a lot of people have lost everything they had trying to get into the space. And, we have to find a way to hold, the states and the local police, accountable for their actions.
And the rule of thumb is kickbacks are real.
Yes, sir.
They are.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, what they thought that they was going to come in, it was going to be $1 million. They was going to keep 800,000, report 200 of it. You know what I'm saying? It was a jack move by the police.
Wow. So when this happened, you took a loss, didn't you?
Yeah, we took a $3 million loss, and we have like another 2.5 months to decide if we want to file a lawsuit. But the reason why for me it's tough to make the decision is because I don't really want to go into a new state and having the police and all them now looking for anything to to bust us on. You know what I'm saying? So right now, yeah, it was a $3 million loss for us.
Not to jump in here, but I think it's interesting as we talk about tech and culture. You're trying to push the envelope on something new from a sector perspective, and that's very exciting because it's white space and people nothing but upside. But also, when it's nothing but upside and it's undefined, it's also really dangerous and risky. And I'm not saying it's not the reason not to go in, but people need to understand that a lot more shit can go wrong and so much is out of your control. So you're going to have a lower batting average, and that means you might it's already a bad likelihood to start a business. Anything that lowers that batting average makes it a lot worse. So people should really think about that, and that's true for any sector, disproportionately on things that are going from illegal to legal. That's just tough.
Yeah, it is very tough. A lot of sleepless nights.
Well, I mean, entrepreneurship's lonely. Both of us, all three of us know that, right? I think the transition from NBA to cannabis, because thinking about it, your peers or your network were basketball players, and some of them are active basketball players, some of them is coaches and all over the league. Some of them can't even say, look, cannabis helps me because it'll affect their well-being, right? So let's talk about your personal your network and the effect of it. Rich, you can talk about it as far as how your personal network has helped you, and same with you, Al. Let's talk about how your network has affected your business.
It helps. I mean, obviously, I think that the three hottest sectors in the country, in my opinion, is cannabis, sports betting, and what's the third thing? And DTC. Tell everybody what DTC means.
Direct to consumer. All those Instagram brands, shit like that, that's what that is. So
those are the three hottest ones. And, because of that, it is, we get a lot of interest. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, my investor base is ex-players, a couple current players, some of my mentors in real estate and different things like that. Everybody want to be a part of this because they realize how big it can be. I mean, it's prohibition. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like the liquor industry. And, obviously the liquor industry is a $200 billion industry. And I feel like cannabis will definitely be bigger than that because all the medicinal value of it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like cannabis is pharmaceutical as well. So you have a recreational side and you have a medical side. So I think it'll blow liquor out of the water, and we're on the ground floor.
So what you were talking about network?
Yeah, let's talk about your network.
You know what's funny? I'm going to be brutally honest. I wish I didn't have a network going in. What's miraculous is everybody that I know that actually has a network got it because they got success when they didn't need the fucking network anymore, right? Oops, sorry again. But it's it's the height of irony, right? It's when you really need it, nobody's there, and then after you've been successful, everybody's there. And but it's I want people to understand is look, everybody talks about how much money there is on the sidelines and how easy it is to go get. And I'm not joking. I hate to say this, and I'm not saying it from an ego perspective, but I can go get that. I could go come up with an idea that has nothing to do with what I was successful in. I was successful in media. We exited for a lot of money. I can go come up with like back of the napkin, worst presentation in the world for like a medical device, and I can go raise $100 million tomorrow. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. Seriously, it makes no sense. But it's just the truth. And the one thing that I am encouraged about is you have a lot of people that are trying to break through and develop money and Series A and small like groups of like strategic LPs that have an opportunity to go fund things that they really believe in, and disproportionately entrepreneurs that they believe in, and ideas that they believe in that are not based on past faux successes. And that is my greatest hope for how culture, not to keep bringing it back, but how culture will influence technology rather than, have 7 entrepreneurs that keep getting all the money and everybody else has to like fight for the scraps, even though their ideas are probably better because they don't have the right name or the right resume. And what I'm hoping is that all the people from the culture decide to get together and fund the ideas and the people that deserve it, not the people who know people. And that's how you want to flip the script. That's my viewpoint.
And I always say it costs them more anyway. You know what I'm saying? I had one of my partners. We was supposed to, when I first started Viola, it was supposed to be 3 of us, and we all had a third, and we all was going to put up $40,000, right? So one person backed out, right? 2 years later, he ended up investing $400,000 just for one room,
right,
in one of my facilities. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
But it's changing.
Yeah, it's changing.
Wow, I think so.
It's
it's funny to hear the two perspectives. Let's get real. I think we're all friends. Each of us have. Let's get real. Can we get real? Let's get real. Let's get raw. I think let's talk about one. I think let's talk about the race barrier. Let's talk about your situations as a white male and your situations as an African American male. I think it's important for there's individuals here who've started businesses and the barriers that each of us face in different situations. It might be great to share what you face, how you've leveraged who you are, or how you got over some hurdles, each of us. And Al, I'd love to hear your story.
Well, mine is just persistence. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to work. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, even my basketball background, like I didn't start playing basketball until I was a freshman in high school. When I was a freshman in high school, like I was the worst player on the team. I barely played. My sophomore year, I started to play a little bit, and then I went pro out of high school. So the reason why I was able to do that was because of my work ethic. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. I apply those same values to business. And the hurdles that I've seen is just that, being that I came out of high school. I get that. What does Al know about business? He never went to school. What business has he run? You know what I'm saying? Those are the things that I run into. But at the end of the day, it's all my results. The results is I'm operating in 4 states. You said I couldn't operate in 1 state. You know what I'm saying? Now we're thinking about expanding internationally. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I handled it. I just said fuck it and just kept working.
Like that.
That's real.
Rich, look, you're my friend, so we're going to talk about white privilege. You're not diving. Let's get into white privilage. Let's talk about that.
We talked about that last night, right?
Let's talk about it right now. Let them hear it.
And look, what was my response last night? We talked about this, right? I mean, look, when I went out and tried to raise money, it was 2008, so the world was falling apart. And irrespective of how I looked, I had a product that didn't look the way a lot of other people wanted it to look. And I'm not trying to use coded language other than that was the language that I kept getting back from everybody else, right? So, and look, I might look a certain way, but at the end of the day, my background, I didn't. My dad was a UPS dude and didn't graduate high school, and my dad didn't play golf with the right guy. I didn't go to the right school. I didn't even know what the fuck was venture capital. I was like, what? I got to go Google this shit and figure it out. And we had to do everything the hard way. And I had to raise money. I couldn't even get a banker to represent us because they didn't understand. I kept hearing the word niche, and not in a good way. Like, it was limiting because, oh, we're that hip hop thing, and oh, that's niche. And that was, I thought it was a bunch of crap, but, because those bankers are so smart, and they're not sheep at all, and, they're real visionaries. Go analyze your spreadsheet. But, here's the situation is, it breaks my heart that the best ideas do not win and the best people do not win. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is an aberration of aberrations because there's a real underlying bias that occurs within these things that, people feel comfortable. All the money that is sitting there is very comfortable when everybody looks exactly the same and is wearing the same bad fleece vest. And
Tommy Bahamas.
Right, exactly. No, serious. And it's, and look, I said to you last night, at the end of the day, I didn't have a lot of easy roads to get to where we are with this company, nor did I have any advantages in that respect. But there's no way that I raised the money that absolutely needed to get done for Complex. If I was a black dude, I don't think that happens. Real straight up, I just don't think it happens. And I don't think we're sitting where we are. And so Complex, thank God Complex was run by a white guy.
Yeah.
Like, it really, thank God. And it is, the industry is changing. There are initiatives. But my problem with those initiatives is they are very often agenda-based versus that are truly, instead of trying to really even the playing field, it's not trying to even the playing field through quotas and other shit like that. It's like, let's even the playing field based on ideas and talent. And that's what I want to see change from a game perspective on the VC side. And that's what I'd like to see elevate. That's what I try and focus on.
Wow. That's great insight, and it makes a lot of sense just because, how long has Complex been around?
At the end of this year, 18 years.
18 years, wow. And I think a lot of that is because, we spoke a bit about it last night as well. Like, what is culture? What does culture mean to you? So I'd like to hear, what's your take on culture? What is it?
Me?
Yes.
Look, what I love absolutely is when people used to describe what Complex was, they went to a demographic, like a race, an ethnicity, an age group. And what's funny is those are actually results of those are the effects of the cause. The cause and the foundational tenets of what we are the topics that we cover. Like, we cover sneakers, we cover hip hop as a culture, we cover art and design, all those related topics. And those disproportionately inform what is defining all of youth culture. All of it, not the AA side or the Latino side or just the suburbs. It's all of it is being completely driven by all of those tenets at different percentages all the time. And to me, we are defining what is the youth culture that is out there. That culture happens to be informed by a different looking cohort than it did 15 years ago. And that's what everybody needs to embrace. And that, to me, it's the topics and the tone that you address those things. It is not defined, and I know that's probably not a popular thing to say, but the culture is not defined by a color. That's my viewpoint.
I
agree.
So Rich, this question comes to you in the inverse. So how do you guys take culture, identify what's happening, and use technology or stay ahead of the technology? Because technology is going to, one, change obviously you guys are ahead when it comes to video, content. Like, how do you see what's happening 5 years from now in culture?
Well, first of all, here's the big shift that we made. When we went from reporting on the news, like everybody else, just reacting, to making the news and letting everybody else cover it. Like, I mean, here's perfect for instance. Like, every one of our supposed competitors, when we drop an episode of Sneaker Shopping with Joe LaPuma, Full Size Run, Hot Ones, Everyday Struggle, like, it pops. That's all over Twitter. It's all over their sites. It's the conversation. So you start the conversation rather than react to it. So we make the news and everybody else reports on the news. That news is ours. So that means we're dictating and defining the conversation. So by nature, you are ahead of the curve. Then what we do is, ideally, instead of putting technology first, we put the conversation and starting the conversation first and use technology to amplify what the already advantage that we have. That is how we continuously stay ahead of the curve. It's a very simple formula. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
I have a question. What's going to replace Instagram?
Wow. When there's a platform, I actually really thought Snapchat had a chance. Somebody that comes out with a short form video first. You got to remember, Instagram has transitioned and is still trying to transition from photo, like flat image, to video. And I mean, they've done a pretty good job, but it's not even close to all the way there. I think, video is just, I hate to say it, but it's the lazy man's format. And you know what? A lot of kids just have been born on video as only video. So it's like easier to react. It's like you don't have to think as much. It's like, it's a lean back experience even on a short form basis. So somebody who can come up with a video first platform that is just video, not some mix of everything else, that's going to be the opportunity. It's not out. Like, nobody's got it. But like, I don't know at this point if anybody can even go after them, because the leverage Facebook has and the money they could pump into Instagram. Like, I don't know if it's even possible to disrupt that at this point, but that would be the product that I would think, and that would be the way to do it.
So how are you guys leveraging content? Al's trying to sell weed to Rich right now.
Trying?
Or he said trying?
He only want to buy a nickel bag. I'm like, a nickel bag?
Nickel bag?
I have nickel bags?
So Al, how are you guys leveraging content? Like, what do you guys? How are you strategically using content?
Well, yeah, for us, it's just really just like, just days in the life of Viola. You know what I'm saying? So with our brand is more of a lifestyle brand. So we're doing everything from, clothing to music to everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty much just trying to tap into all those different areas to always bring it back to the brand. You know what I'm saying? Which is a cannabis company. My biggest thing is like, trying to humanize the plant. You know what I'm saying? And changing the stigma of the game. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody thinks that once you smoke, you just sit in the couch and you can't do nothing. But if you look on our Instagram, you see us smoke, we snowboard, we surf, we party, we do it all. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way that I'm leveraging, the content platforms.
Well, in the communities that we came from, the three of us, Canarsie, Jersey, like, even me coming up, like, cannabis was like, the stigma of it was like, oh, you might go to jail, you might not make it, it's going to do this, it's going to do that to you. Like, how have you overcome the stigma of being a basketball player that now is highlighting the fact that he smoked weed?
Well, I think my grandmother's story is always the story that, like, just, it opens the door. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, it's just educating people on it. You know what I'm saying? And I always just use, like, simple examples of, like, someone that drinks liquor compared to someone that smokes weed. You know what I'm saying? Someone that drinks liquor, obviously, there's so many risks involved. Getting behind the wheel of a car, you know what I'm saying? Killing yourself or others. You could actually drink yourself to death. You know what I'm saying? I've had an uncle that done that.
Wow.
You can't smoke yourself to death. Like, we can sit and smoke 1,000 pounds straight right now, and we will not die.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? And then when you get into the you'll be high, but when you get into real, like, the education of the plant, knowing, like, with the different terpenes that can help you with different feelings and different things like that, this plant is definitely medicine. And, I even tell people all the time, is like, one thing that people don't realize is, like, they think that only guys that come home from the Army have PTSD. That is not true, especially in black communities. Kids see people get killed every day. They see their parents abused.
Wow.
A lot of times they use cannabis because they have PTSD. They just haven't been diagnosed. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we have to continue to educate, and we have to continue to, push these conversations forward so that people can start looking at this in a different light. You know what I'm saying? And that's all my company is about.
All right, I want to do two things before we wrap this up. The first thing we're doing, we're going to have fun. Because everybody wants some insight of both of your industries. For you, Al, as a former NBA player, everybody here probably wants to know, what percentage of the NBA smokes cannabis? And then Rich, you're not off the hook. In your industry, how many executives in the media, or just executives?
I can answer that too. They my customers.
Well,
so
let's hear both.
Yeah, I got you on this one, big dog. No, I would say executives, all of them, because that's how they tap into their creative minds. That's one, and a lot of them have anxiety from the meetings and so much pressures of the world. They all smoke. I would say NBA players, I would say 90% of them consume cannabis in some form. I would say 60% of them smoke flower, and then 30% of them eat the edibles and all that other stuff.
Yeah, the edibles thing is very hot right now for people. Like, there's you guys know the company Chef for Hire? Yeah. Hawaii Mike? And he does this great, no, dude, it's unbelievable. Like, you go and you have this crazy dinner. It's like 11 courses, and everything is like, CBD infused, and it's unbelievable. And the clientele is killer. I mean, it is top notch, and it's fun. And I think I agree with you. I think it's not that everybody's looking to escape. I think it's, liquor, and don't get me wrong, I love to drink. So, but it dulls your senses. That's more of a party thing. Whereas cannabis, to me, it expands your mind, or it gives you the ability to relax and think about things in a not so under duress or stressed out situation.
Realize shit ain't as bad as you think it is.
No, it's not, right? And to me, I think it's become, at least in our space, very popular, like super popular.
Wow. So, in closing, I would like to hear how, one, technology, what it's doing for your business day to day, and culture, internally, what it's doing for your business day to day.
Wow. Well, technology to me, and I'm going to answer this theoretically rather than tactically. To me, I love that there's always a new platform or a new way to attack a platform. Technology speeds up, gives us the ability to reach more people, break through, put more light on how good the content is. It's not a core of our business because we're a brand business and we're conversation. But the better we are at technology, that from an amplification perspective and a distribution basis, that's where we can further separate the advantage we already have because of that. On the culture side, it's really funny. We were talking about this last night. You walk through my office, and no shots at any, minority-owned media businesses or general market, but they all have it wrong in my book. Like, you go through and you walk through like a general market media company, and it's all white people. And then you go through like BET, and it's all black people. And you go through Univision, it's all Latinos. Like, honestly, that's all fucked up. That's wrong. That's wrong. So you walk through Complex, and it looks like the Census Bureau from a top 20 market. It's everybody. You've been through my office, And to me, we hire on talent and like chips on your shoulder and real, attachment to the brand and the culture, and talent versus just resumes and check boxes or bullshit experience. I'm looking for thought process. I'm looking for how you did what you did before, not to rinse and repeat, but did you think about it? Did you come up with that solution? So when you're challenged with a new problem, are you going to be able to come up with that new solution? And that goes back to the tenets that we touch upon from a cultural perspective. And that's how we hire. That's why we have a mix. That's why we've been more successful than other people, because it's talent, not a formula.
Al?
And for me, tech is allowing me to run my company more efficiently. But from a culture standpoint, we are the culture. My company is the culture for cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel about it. And, my feeling is that we want to continue to control the conversations. You know what I'm saying? We want to lead the conversations. So, like I said, that's what we're about. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we operate. And like I said, we've been very successful at it, and we're just getting better every day.
Wow. I want to thank both of you guys for coming out. Inflection, Microsoft for Startups, Frank Denvo, Fueled by Culture, Burrow, everybody involved.